Hi, this is Dan Sullivan. I'd like to welcome you to the Multiplier Mindset Podcast. One of the things I find very humorous when people find out that I'm an American living in Toronto since the early 1970s, whether I was a draft dodger, because a lot of the draft dodgers from the Vietnam War, late 1960s, early 1970s, moved to Toronto. But I always tell them, no, I said I did my military duty in the 1960s, so I had my military duty. And if I'd been in a position to dodge the draft, I wouldn't. I would have signed up and gone into the military. So that would never enter my thinking. But I will tell you why I did come to Toronto, because through a friend in Toronto on a visit here, about 6 months before I graduated from college, I did my college after my military duty, I met a man I just clicked with, and he was the creative director of the second largest ad agency in Canada, Baker Lovick, and they were just becoming part of an international network which was called BBDO, which is still one of the biggest global advertising networks. And we just talked. We were at a party. It was over the Christmas break. We got talking, and he said, "Have you ever visited an ad agency?" And I said, "No, I haven't." And he said, "Well, what are you doing next couple of days?" And I said, "Well, I'm free." So he invited me. I came down. He showed me through the ad agency. And then he said, "Let's go to lunch." And over lunch, he said, "What are you going to do when you graduate from college in 6 months?" And I said, "Who knows what they're going to do when they graduate from college in 6 months?" And he said, "Well, I'll give you something to think about, and that is, if you're willing, I'll give you a letter to come across the border, because you need an employment letter in 1971, and I'll give you a job as a copywriter, because you've told me about your writing activities, and I can tell that you have a way with words. I can tell that you have a good mind, and I just want to find out whether you have the makings of an ad writer." So I said, "Sure, that's great." And sure as he promised, the letter arrived. In those days, I'll tell you how simple it was. In 1971, I took a flight from near Washington, D.C. to Toronto, arrived, went to Customs and Immigration, showed them the letter. They said, "That's great. Here's a form. Tomorrow morning, go down to University Avenue in Dundas and bring your identification," show them the letter. And I did that, and 6 months later, I had a status which is called landed immigrant, which is like having a green card in the United States. So this was the start of my advertising career. I spent 3 years as a writer and really enjoyed the activity, because advertising is all based on the concept that if you do something great today, you have about a half hour to celebrate it tonight, because tomorrow nobody cares what you did yesterday, and you have a new set of challenges that you have to solve tomorrow. I did that for 3 years. It's a very hectic life. There's nights when you don't sleep at all. You work all through the night. There's weekends that you work entirely through, and you have to be on your toes. Deadlines are everything, and your successful solutions from the past don't matter today. You have to come up with new ideas. You have to come up with new tricks. So about the third year in, I got the idea of coaching. So I had in the back of my mind, ever since I was a kid, that I was really a teacher, but I enjoyed all this experience. I had theater experience. I worked in large organizations. I was in the Army. I went to university, and I did all sorts of things. But I really wanted to teach, but I never wanted to teach in someone else's school. I wanted to have my own school, which is now the Strategic Coach. So at the end of 3 years, I said to my creative director, "Hey, I've got this idea. I've already tested it out with some entrepreneurs. They like the activity. They think I'm really good at it. I'm thinking about starting my own business." Bob McAleer, who was the creative director, was an up from the streets guy, and he understood self-made people, and he said, Well, that sounds really interesting. He said, if I say no, I'm not going to give you my approval, will it make any difference? And I said, nope, absolutely none. And he says, well, then you have my blessing. But he said, just remember, it's going to be very, very different from what you think it's going to be, as it proved to be. You know, I went through enormous amount of frustration and difficulty for the first 10 years. But I will tell you this, and I really see it coming out today, that those 3 years that I spent in an ad agency between 1971 and 1974 gave me a sense of how you have a business where you're constantly creating new things. You have to constantly come up with new ideas. So in our world, every quarter I have to come up with a brand new workshop. Every quarter I have to come up with a brand new book. Every quarter there's new video recordings I have to make, new audio recordings I have to make. Every quarter I have a growing number of podcasts that I do. And I think those 3 years in advertising, where what you did yesterday doesn't matter, it's what you're going to create today that really counts, really conditioned me and really trained me for a highly creative, constantly surprising, can't predict the future life, and really got to enjoy it. So very, very valuable 3 years of my life. Very, very grateful for being given the opportunity to do it. And I really am great with deadlines. I'm really great with the constant challenge of coming up with new things. I think it fits into my personality. I think it fits into my nature. But that was superb training for me. The lesson that I can pull out of my advertising agency experience is that you are truly being an entrepreneur when you allow yourself to celebrate yesterday's win, but don't expect to repeat it today. So on the one hand, I did something great yesterday, and I took time before I went to bed last night to actually celebrate it and feel really good about it. But that's that. And now I get up this morning, and there's new things that I have to address. Some of them are scary, some of them are challenging. And my goal today is to pull off another win or a set of wins today that I can celebrate tonight. And as far as tomorrow goes, unpredictable things lie on the horizon. So the question I have for you is, do you find yourself conflicted as you go through each day, where part of your mind is still tied up with something that happened in the past, and you're either trying to relive something that happened in the past, or you're angsting over something that didn't work in the past? So part of your attention is backwards, and then you're very, very anxious about something coming up in the future. It's not today, it's not tomorrow, it's in the future, and part of your attention is tied up with the future. So when you take the part of your thinking and your emotional attachments and account for the past, and then you do the same thing for the future, you may not have very much present for being fully engaged and fully attentive. And then at the end of the day, you feel very frustrated because you didn't get done what you wanted to get done. So all the productivity tools in Strategic Coach do is that they allow you more and more to develop what I would call present muscles. In other words, that you have the attention muscles, you have the engagement muscles, so you're able to separate yourself completely once you get into a new day from any past concerns or any future considerations. And you're just able to utilize what's available to you during any 24-hour period, and then just get a sense of satisfaction and success. Have a really great day, and then tomorrow you get to do the same thing. And this is a capability that very few people actually develop. So many people, their present actually doesn't exist because they're caught in two ways between negative emotions, negative thoughts based on the past, and also worried emotions, anxious considerations about the future. So today is all you really have, and you want to develop the muscle to make your days bigger and more dimensional as you go through the day. And then your past will be all the successful days like this, and you can certainly predict that all your future days are going to be like this. So, if you're really interested in a series of productivity tools that can gradually allow you to develop this present muscles, then go to productivityguide.coach.